Hi, my name is Dajjal Fasadi, and I chose to do my presentation on an article called Human Capital Reporting. And essentially, this article talks about a proposal that the SEC has made to basically enhance and enlarge measures that companies disclose about their human capital assets, about their employees. And basically, the reasoning behind this is that there's the thought that there's kind of an inconsistency in how human capital figures can be reported and different methods that are used to report it right now. And they also say that the sheer fact that there's basically not enough information about human capital and how companies use their human capital assets out there for investors to be able to make good investment decisions, on whether or not they should uh, invest in the company or not. But currently, the situation is, or I guess the way that things kind of roll right now, is that companies are only required to disclose a lot of different figures about employees. And so, for example, some of them would include the types of employees that companies have. So, for example, how many full-time versus part-time versus seasonal employees, or how many managers and how many, regular level versus how much uh, corporate officers that they have, which I guess they already do have corporate officers. But another figure could be the stability of their workforce. So, how much voluntary and involuntary turnover is there? How many employees are leaving every quarter? On top of that, they'd want to know things such as average training hours per employee. So, how much money and time is the company investing into their employees so that they can perform at a good level? And just other employee productivity measures, pay equity measures, absenteeism rate. How often do employees take sick leave or are they gone from work? And just a lot more, just a lot of figures regarding human capital assets. And when you have something this big, a proposal that, would affect all public companies that are registered with the SEC, you're going to have two sides to it. You're going to have both proponents and opponents to this proposal. And basically, the proponents argue that they think expanding the disclosure requirements in the audited financial statements is a necessary step in achieving transparent reporting around a company's human capital assets. And people that are part of this camp would include investor advocates, think tanks, and industry groups. Whereas you also have the opposite. So people who are against this proposal, they argue that it's an added compliance burden to be able to produce this information, and that it's not only redundant, but will lead to more confusion among investors. And this includes people that are part of the financial management community. I can see kind of both sides to it, but the article also does mention how if this proposal does go through, that there could be a lot of reporting challenges, so being able to base different figures on materiality and being able to standardize measures across different industries and companies that are so different, but having a standard measurement so that you can compare figures from one company to another. On top of that, you're going to have the issue of being able to collect this data in a timely manner every quarter. It's a lot of information to collect, and not only to collect, but to be able to collect precisely. And another issue would be that certain management is afraid that the disclosure of these figures would give away competitive or sensitive information. Because for some companies, information regarding their human capital assets is kind of what gives them a competitive advantage over other companies in their industry. And just the fact that it could be a burden to accountants and financial management to be able to provide that information. Now, my thoughts are I don't think it's worth the cost, and I do think it does kind of create a burden for companies to produce that information. And just the fact that I don't think it's very necessary for investors to know, how many full-time versus part-time employees. I think there's plenty of good measures out there already on audited financial statements. I think there's plenty of information that people can use to base decisions on whether to invest or not. And so I don't think it's worth the cost of trying to get that information, and I don't think it's uh, per- and that's kind of the current situation regarding the article and the SEC's proposal.